Welcome back to War Weekend News. This week we have the Japanese Navy to talk about, a YouTuber tournament, a leak of a large amount of Japanese and Russian aircraft, and a crazy amount of information coming from the data mines. So hit that subscribe button and let's talk about the Japanese Navy. On the announcement page, there's quite a few things to pick up. First off, the very obvious, the two vessels that you can pre-order are the Kiyoshimo for $50 and the PG2 for $20. And you can buy them in a bundle for 20% off at $55.98. The Kiyoshimo looks pretty awesome. It has 28 25mm guns, and those 25mm guns I'm pretty sure have a pretty good amount of penetration, but they're for anti-air, and I bet if you could get all of them firing at one target at the same time, you could kick anyone from the game who has a lower performing computer. The Kiyoshimo is a Yugumo Class destroyer armed with 6 128mm cannons and 8 torpedoes, and I believe it has an extra salvo torpedoes it can load. I hope that's modeled in game. Now the Yugumos in the closed beta test that we had them, they only had HE. Now you were able to put out a large amount of damage, but you couldn't really sync things too well. However, in open beta, we now have base fused HE. And I'm pretty sure the Japanese use that, which in my personal opinion is actually better than regular AP, at least against other destroyers. It seems to do nothing to light cruisers. Besides all that, it also has depth charges. So yeah, pretty good ship. Now the PG-02, on the other hand, seems like to be much better than a pretty good ship. Being a hydrofoil, it can hit up to 50 knots or 90 kilometers an hour. It's armed with a 20mm Vulcan cannon with an increased fire rate of 6,000 shots per minute. So it shoots 100 shots in a second. Combine that with, say, HE against overhead aircraft or APCR against a heavily armed boat. This thing is going to destroy those things very quickly, though you'll probably run out of ammo or overheat. But the destructive gun and the fast speed will definitely make this a very ideal vessel. In real life, it wasn't only armed with a Vulcan cannon, but also anti-ship missiles. Because of this, they have decided to discuss a little bit on their opinions of adding anti-ship missiles to the game. And what they say exactly is, after discussing the abilities of anti-ship missiles, therefore at this point we cannot say if this type of weapon will ever appear in game, although we are going to explore the possibility. Which essentially means is we're going to add it later. I can say that because they originally said no composite armor, but then we got T-64s. They said no air-to-air missiles, but then we got AIM-9s. The game is always constantly power creeping and adding new functions, so ship-to-ship missiles are going to be a thing eventually. That's just how the game works, regardless of what they say now. Personally, I feel adding anti-ship missiles is going to be a lot like adding helicopters. It's very cool, but gameplay-wise, it's very limiting and actually detracts from the game, as it renders other gameplay aspects ineffective, such as just playing a regular old World War II ship. A lot of it depends on how you balance it, and there's some nuances along the way, but generally I feel like it would be more of a negative than a positive, but it would definitely sell to the people who have been asking for anti-ship missiles. Honestly, if we got them in a year or two, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, other Japanese vessels that we can expect to see in the tree, there's quite a few of them that I can actually confirm, and a few that I can suspect. First off, the obvious, the T-14 class motor torpedo boat. It got a devlog way back when, in 2016. The Type 11 PT-15 also got a devlog way back in 2016. The number 13 class sub chaser. This one is quite funny. It's actually on the icon of Naval Arcade in the drop-down menu where you select what game mode you want to play. Of course, the Yugumo Class destroyer. Now, I'm suspecting that we're going to get 2 variants in the main tree because during the closed beta, at first we had a Yugumo with a good amount of anti-air. It wasn't 28 of them, but it was a good amount. Later on, we got a Yugumo with much less anti-air. We're going to get the Ayanami Class destroyer, which is a post-war ship, as a full model of it can be found in the CDK. Oddly enough, the model is named Fubuki, which implies that we're also going to get the Fubuki, well, at least there's an intention for us to get the Fubuki Class destroyer. And there was a Akizuki Class destroyer seen in the open beta trailer for Naval Forces. There's also been a large amount of files found that would definitely go well with a Kuma Class light cruiser, and for other light cruisers, it's likely that we'll see a Mogami Class cruiser with its 15cm cannons, as that was the ship that actually inspired the Brooklyn class, and probably arguably the only thing in-game to stand up to it without power creeping. Speaking of power creeping, also in the announcement dev blog, there was a statement said, in addition to the release of the Japanese fleet, there's a brand new ship class coming to War Thunder, heavy cruisers. Now, if my prediction that we're going to get the Mogami Class as a light cruiser, it's very possible that we'll see its upgrade to a heavy cruiser with its 20 centimeter cannons. And if we do get heavy cruisers, then perhaps all those files that I've been talking about for quite some time now for the Deutschland-class heavy cruiser will finally come to fruition, and we will get that ship, which will be very exciting because that is a massive ship with massive 28 centimeter cannons. There was also a Q&A of the developers this week, and it was kind of a letdown. Most of the questions were pretty weak, and the ones that were strong got unfortunate answers. The first two, in fact, were asking for the Bob Simple tank as some sort of silly event vehicle, and they said no. And then there was another question asking for the OI, and they said no. There was also a reminder that the Panther II and Tiger II 105 are going to be eventually removed as soon as they find proper replacements for them, whenever that's gonna be. Only other question I kind of cared about was that Gaijin confirmed the German G91R3 with the 30mm cannons. However, I think it was confirmed in a prior Q&A, although more confirmation's not bad. The War Thunder YouTube Cup is a very interesting event, with the top prize being extremely abnormal, a unique top-tier copy-paste of the YouTuber's choice. Essentially, you could have two T80Us or two Leo 2A5s, and it even gets a cool skin that somehow has something to do with you. But that's not all. You also get the choice of an IS-7 or an E100, and 100,000 Golden Eagles. Now the 10,000 I think might be split up among your team, I'm not sure. Second place prize is an E100 or an IS-7 and 50,000 Golden Eagles, and third place prize is 25,000 Eagles. Oh yeah, and all those, they get a special decal, which is not the most interesting thing. Honestly, fourth and fifth place get a much better I tried decal. So to get into this tournament, you of course had to be part of the partnership program, but people who are part of the partnership program can request 10,000 Golden Eagles, 2 premium vehicles, and rent up to 4 vehicles per month. At least that's what they let me do. I bet Fly Daily could get a whole lot more. So that big flashy 100,000 Golden Eagles, it doesn't really appeal to me too much. I kind of do want an E100, but I'm not in the tournament. I didn't bother to sign up. Although after seeing that I tried decal, I kind of wish I did. But personally, I'm actually going to be rooting for the Green Doom, because I believe that if he wins this thing, it could inflate his ego to the point where we may actually be able to use it as an alternative energy source. So good luck, Orangey boy. Got some after-the-fact news on the War Thunder YouTuber tournament, and it is unfortunately kind of foreseen a bit of a disaster. To start off, the first match, the Russian team versus G Squad, essentially the American tryhard team. The Russian team was, I don't want to be mean, but being kind of stupid and screwed up on canceling out a certain type of game mode and ended up going with Naval Arcade. And instead of protesting and saying that there was a technical issue, they went through and played the Naval Arcade and lost. And one of the matches was really close. It just happened that G Squad had one last boat that was hiding away somewhere. And so the Russian team demanded a rematch. G Squad did not want a rematch. And I think from what I've heard, there's going to be a rematch, or at least the Russian team is gonna be able to rematch a different team, which is just stupid. The giveaway code, which is a single code that could be used by different people 5,000 times, got leaked early and was used up much faster than most people intended. The store broke, so people couldn't enter the code when it finally was up. I'd expect Gaijin's website to be able to withstand 5,000 visitors. In fact, there wasn't even 5,000 people watching the stream at the time that the code was officially announced. So, I don't know, it was weird. Probably the worst thing that happened was all the weird technical issues that they had. Randomly in the middle of it, the stream just went down and didn't go up for quite some time. A fly said it would be about 15 minutes. That was some long 15 minutes. In the end, we had missed the majority of the second match. Although it was up for the Russians, so I guess Russian bias. The cherry on top of the terrible stream was the giveaway code. As I said, the first one was leaked, but it was said there would be a second one, so it would be a bit more fair and everyone could get more stuff, which people like more stuff. At the end of the stream, they said they put up a new code, but it was the old code, and then later Some of the forum mods stated that there was no second code, there was only one code. A lot of people got very frustrated, and the stream was a mess. So it seems the YouTuber tournament is the gift that keeps on giving, or kind of like, I guess, the opposite of a gift, because gifts are typically positive. But anyways, another update, it's canceled. Woo! Well, it's canceled for now. Apparently in 2 to 8 weeks, they're gonna try it again. All the team captains and the organizers, including Anton and the other devs, all agreed upon this. And apparently there's a multitude of reasons why. A little suggestions for the next time around. I'd say maybe not have it fully focused around YouTubers, because I know there's a lot of people actually who are part of the partnership program. A lot of smaller ones and bigger ones. And I didn't see like the majority of them in this. I feel maybe we're all just too separate. We don't care to join together besides the few groups that already exist. Like what you could do is get some of the squadrons that typically participate in the tournaments, have them assigned to a influencer, and then so you have the aspect of the influencers there, but it's not solely focused on them, and the regular tournament participants will actually have a possibility of getting some cool prize, not just 100 golden eagles. And I'm definitely not just saying that because I happen to know some people who are rather good at the game, and probably could get some other people who are also rather good at the game and try hard away to victory. But also the common folk, the viewers, they need to have something to do more so than just wait around for a code in a stream. Honestly, I thought that the way that the dog tag worked back in Thunder League many years ago was great, because have you bought the dog tag, just viewing the stream, you had the possibility of getting things. But you also could bet on a team that you thought was going to win, and if they won, you also would get prizes. So even if you didn't care who was playing, you had investment on who was going to win. And here's the best part. You don't actually need to develop any new vehicles for this. You could literally use the vehicles from the last dog tag during Thunder League, because it's been so many years that nobody has those anymore. And the people who do have them, hey, they could just sell it on the marketplace and buy some other rare. On the streaming side of things, pretty simple. Fly Daily is pretty entertaining, in my personal opinion, but honestly, I think he should be participating in the event as well. Bruce is funny, but he doesn't know a damn thing about War Thunder. He's a voiceover guy. He doesn't actually play the game. You need to get somebody who knows the game well, can talk a lot, and is loud. I guess if Fly Daily doesn't want to participate, he could fit the role. But even when he was doing it, it didn't seem like it was a real good fit. Like, when I think of a commentator for a tournament, I always think to StarCraft 2 commentators, back when StarCraft 2 was the big thing. So even somebody who has never played StarCraft 2 before could walk in and understand what was going on, be entertained, get hooked in, want to see more of this type of stuff. I guess that's not entirely necessary if you just need someone to fill the role of being a commentator, not like someone who specializes in it. And I guess I should make a comment about the prize. I don't need golden eagles. Like, 100,000 golden eagles sounds cool, but that's just like 10 months of me asking for golden eagles. And for the most part, I don't have much to spend golden eagles on. Yeah, sure, there's random premiums that I could get, but I don't have like a desire to get those premiums unless I'm gonna use them in a video or something, or if they're like super OP and I wanna be OP. Now, if you do allow regular tournament players in along with the YouTubers, like I was suggesting earlier, then having the high amount of golden eagles as the prize would still be a good thing. But if you're gonna keep it just YouTubers, you don't need that. You don't need that. E100, IS7, those could be good for YouTubers because they can make videos on it, especially those top tier copy paste vehicles. Those would definitely draw a lot of crowd to making it nice videos, show off how it's different anyway, especially if it has like a unique skin that's somehow relates to the YouTuber. Best idea I could come up with actually is that have the top prize be a mystery tank. And then when the tournament is over, you reveal the mystery tank is like something really trash, like the Bob Simple. It would be the funniest joke. It would be hilarious. Oh yeah, and balance the lineups. I think that's all I got on this topic, and I doubt it's going to develop any further. So, no more spontaneous updates on this one, I promise. Now on to the real meat of this episode. On a DeviantArt page belonging to a modeling company, there was a large amount of aircraft models that were uploaded, and then were later taken down. Now this modeling company happens to make models for IL-2, DCS, and War Thunder. Although apparently they don't make models for IL-2 anymore, and none of these aircraft seem to fit in with what DCS typically goes for modern fighter jets. However, I want to instill in everybody that there is still a possibility that these models are not for War Thunder. Maybe there's some other party that hired this company to make bizarre prototype World War II models for Japan and Russia. However, I'm rather confident that these are indeed for War Thunder. Anyways, let's get to these models. There was a H8K1 and a H8K4. Now, the H8K4 is simply a H8K3 with better engines, but the H8K1 is a bit interesting, as its only real difference to the H8K2 and 3 is that it has radar in the nose. But this isn't the current air radar that we have in game. This is surface search radar, which makes me think maybe we're gonna get some surface search radar for those World War II planes. And maybe we're also going to see ship radar, as they talked about that back when they first enabled radar. There was the J5N1 and J5N2, which had upward facing guns in the back, but besides that were your pretty typical Japanese heavy fighter built to shoot down bombers. There was a Ki 74, which I believe was a prototype bomber with a 1,000 kilogram payload, which probably is just going to result in one 800 kilogram bomb. There was a Ki 88, which is essentially a Japanese air cobra that was never finished. In fact, it wasn't never finished as it got bombed by America. It was never finished as they were building it, they had a mock-up, then they decided to calculate its top speed and realized it was only a little faster than the Ki 61, which is already in production, and then they canceled it. If they do add this thing, then there's little reason not to add the Ta 183. In fact, the Warboos have been asking for the Ta 183 much longer than I've been wanting the Ki 88 in game. Forgot to talk about this one, the J6K. This one is kind of in the same boat as the Ki 88, as it was never actually finished. It only got to mock-up stages. The papery factor of these aircrafts makes me kind of feel that maybe we won't see all of these leaked models in-game, but only time will tell. After that was the Ki 64, which is technically another twin-engine Japanese fighter. However, this one has both engines in the fuselage, and it just generally looks like an awesome plane. Probably won't perform well, but I very much look forward to it. After that, we get into the Russian aircraft with the Nemin 10, which is just a low-tier attacker. You might as well be playing the Su-2. The MDR-6, which is a flying boat that can be armed with bombs and rockets, which is weird. I don't think I've ever seen a flying boat armed with rockets before. The VI-100, which is a Russian heavy fighter. Odd name, not very interesting plane. After that is another heavy Russian fighter with a very bizarre name, the TNC-MA TIS-MA. Then there is the IL-20, which has to be one of the dumbest planes I've ever seen, but it also happens to have 23mm cannons that can point downward, and I'm pretty sure this can be done in mid-flight. If so, it's possible they'll be looking to doing this with other planes that could change their armament up mid-flight. Another plane I forgot to talk about was the Di-6, which is a Russian biplane, and it's not even like a Russian biplane with cannons. It's got 3 machine guns, 2 facing forward, 1 in a gunner. I can see why I forgot about this thing. After that is the Tu-12, which I swear is literally just a Tu-2 with jet engines. Russia was pretty big into just slapping a jet engine on one of their regular planes, so I guess that happened. And then there's something I've actually been wanting to see in game for quite some time, is the I-215, which was definitely not based off any foreign aircraft and was solely a Russian design. Russia would definitely never just copy a foreign aircraft and then claim it as their own. They never do that, especially not after World War II, where their idea of a jet was to strap a Junkers Juno 004 onto one of their prop planes. Then there was the Yak-25, which seems to be some sort of heavy fighter jet, and apparently it could be armed with missiles of some sort, and I believe had radar. You'd probably see it in the tree after the flying cigar. Another plane that it seems no one else seemed to catch was a DB-3A, which looks a lot like the DB-3B. In fact, they have little difference. However, the image on the DeviantArt page was removed along with all the other ones shortly after they were put up. So I'm assuming maybe it is along with the leak. And not actually along with the leak, but a Russian plane, so I want to keep it in there, is the TB-7 ACN Mod 1939, which is a prototype of the PEB-8. However, this image of it, while it has many differences than the in-game PEB-8, was made in 2013. Gaijin, why haven't you given us another PEB-8 by now? now. Come on, hell, make it an event plane. But the real cherry on top of this, what people are mostly caring about, is the FAA and FAE FN Crusaders. A quick glance over the Wikipedia page, and I have to say, if these things are indeed going to be added, they will be the new top tier of jets. They have some pretty good performance, almost hitting Mach 2 at highest speed. But what makes it really stand apart from the rest is its armament. Not its guns, those are simply just American 20s, but it can carry AIM-9Ds, which are improved AIM-9Bs, and AIM-9Cs, which are Bs with radar guidance. And don't tell me that they're just not going to add the radar guided ones, because that's too OP. A viewer of mine, or he said he wasn't a viewer, but he sent me information anyways, spotted in the CDK that there are indeed files for the AIM-9Cs. So radar guided missiles are very much a possibility, and that doesn't just stay to this one aircraft. There are other radar guided missiles, for example the R3R, which is a Russian radar guided missile, which I'm pretty sure I already reported on, but also there has been missile rails added for the F3D1, which I believe could fire radar guided missiles. As for unguided things, 130mm rocket pods for the Mi-35 has also been found in the files. However, Iron Physique has not been the only one digging through the files. I'm not sure who dug it up first, but I first saw it posted on the forums, the Type 90 anti-ship missile that is supposed to be on the back of the PG-02. And over the years, there's been a lot of other anti-ship missiles that have been developed. So I gotta say, anti-ship missiles, Gaijin's seriously looking into these, and they are likely to be in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a year. I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than a year that we actually saw these implemented. And also, apparently, some people have been digging up the English Electric Lightning and the Supermarine Swift. However, these are user-made models. Now, perhaps they're trying to present false information, or perhaps they just forgot they had installed these, but they're not likely to come. However, there were some pylons for the Swift found in the files, but you need more than a pylon to fly a plane. There's also some AT guns pulled up for Germany, UK, and Russia, and these just aren't static objects like you see most AT guns in air battle maps. These have full internals and HD models. Now, I'm theorizing that these probably have to do with World War mode, which, by the way, was said on Twitter to be launching this month. Over on the Reddit, Mike10D has been very busy finding all kinds of weird things. First thing was the AMX-50 1950, which is some sort of weird prototype of the AMX-50. I'm not too into those early Cold War French tanks. They look weird to me. Along with that was a Russian Second World War light machine gun. And later, Mike10D dug up the AMX-50 Surblindé, which has the longest barrel. It is absurd and almost phallic. Apparently, it is a 8.0 gift tank and is armed with not only some sort of large French cannon, but a MG-151. French had a lot of those to spare. Final thing that Mike was able to dig up was a H-75A2 with a Finnish camo. Now, this plane is a bit interesting. It's obviously a US design, but these were built in France and I guess sold or lent to Finland. However, for some weird reason, this one is a gift plane for Germany at Tier 1. Now you're thinking, well, of course, Finland was part of the Axis, technically, and of course, so it would go in the German tree, even though they said that XS vehicles would go in the Italian tree. But also the IAR 316B, while being an Alouette French helicopter, was part of the Romanian army, and by the logic they're using with this H-75, the Romanian Alouette should go in the Russian tree. But they put that one in the nation that originally designed the helicopter, France. Best part of all is they changed the Finnish swastika into a blue plus sign, so now it looks like it's covered in positive magnetic charges. And while we're on the subject of things found in the data files, last week I brought up some buildings that were labeled to be in apparently some sort of Falklands map. However, perhaps I should have researched a bit more, because those buildings are actually already in a map in game, a map called Fugo Island. The real place it's based off of is called Terra del Fuego, and it's nowhere near the Falklands. Well, I guess it got around the same spot of South America, but there's a pretty big difference between the two. A final story of something positive, Gaijin is actually attempting to help Dita get his monetization back, telling YouTube that he did and does have the rights to create War Thunder content, and I hope it's not fruitless. Also, on the same note of War Thunder creator is becoming monetized for whatever reason. Rulo 6000 also got hit with the no money for you stick. I'm praying I'm not next. Final inconsequential story. People who have their account connected to DMM received some commemorative decals to celebrate Japan's new era. Now, these have nothing to do with anime, so honestly don't see why the entire player base couldn't have been offered these. Say, win one game in Japan, you get some free decals. It'd be cool, and I like Japan symbol thingies. But whatever, that's all the news for this week. If you have any comments or concerns, or I forgot anything, you can hit me up in the comments below or on my Discord. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I make War Thunder weekly news videos every Sunday and make random videos throughout the week. I stream on Saturdays. I want to stream on Twitch a bit more. I'm still working that into my schedule. A bit harder than you think. So hit that bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bonus news time. So, for some reason, as of this recording, the VE Day sale hasn't started yet. However, it has started for PlayStation players. I don't know why they get a VE sale day before we do. Whatever, Gaijin. And it's not just like the packs in the Steam store. One of my friends who has 7 legs and 8 arms found out that he's actually a spider from another dimension. What am I doing?